Welcome to the Book Mind channel, where we do deep dive conversation on famous English books. I'm Sierra.
And I'm David, ready to get into today's topic.
Great. So today we're diving deep into Patrick King's guide, Read People Like a Book. And let's be clear right up front.
Yeah.
This isn't about magic tricks or, actual mind reading.
Definitely not. It's grounded in behavioral psychology,
Right.
Practical stuff.
Exactly. It's about using observation, like a systematic observation, to figure out the why behind what people do and say. Kind of like learning the language of human interaction.
Right. And the book sort of promises a shortcut, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not just seeing what people do, but understanding why. Making that complex machinery of human motivation, well, a bit more readable.
Yeah.
So our mission today really is to pull out the key methods.
Okay.
How to spot hidden motives, how to read emotions better, and just generally get a sharper judgment of character. The goal, to help you avoid being, well, fooled or misled so often.
Yeah, we're looking for those really actionable bits of knowledge, the things you can use right away to, strengthen relationships, make communication smoother, build real trust.
Yeah, just by getting better at observing people, moving past the surface level.
Right. Understanding who you're actually dealing with. Okay, let's unpack this first big idea. The whole foundation of King's approach seems to rest on something we say we know, but maybe don't practice much.
Which is?
That actions speak louder than words. I mean, it sounds cliche, but he really hammers it home. People say things, they hide feelings verbally.
All the time.
But it's their patterns, their habits, that really spill the beans, that show the truth.
That distinction is so important because, let's face it, people are pretty good at crafting narratives about themselves, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Very flattering ones sometimes.
Exactly. Flattering, detailed, sometimes completely false. Because the conscious mind, it has that filter. It knows what society expects, and it uses language to try and meet that. But the body, and especially those ingrained habits, they operate kind of below that conscious radar.
Right. Too automatic to fake consistently.
Pretty much. They're just too deeply wired. You might stand up in a meeting and say, I'm totally confident in this plan. But if your pattern is checking every single email 15 times before hitting send, well, the behavior screams insecurity, no matter what you said out loud.
So it's not the big dramatic statement or the one-off action we should focus on?
Nope. That's often just performance theater. The real key is watching for consistency.
Okay.
To really get someone, the book says, watch what they consistently do, day in, day out, not the occasional grand gesture or the thing they say under pressure.
And that consistency, it tells you something deeper.
Yeah, it tells you which specific emotional or psychological needs are being met by that behavior.
Okay, explain that connection a bit more. How does a consistent habit, map back to a need?
Think of it like a coping mechanism, or maybe a strategy the person uses, probably unconsciously. Every regular habit, whether we label it good or bad, it's doing something for the person.
Right.
Take that example of someone always seeking the spotlight, constantly posting achievements online, telling endless stories about themselves.
We all know someone like that.
Right. And maybe they even claim to be humble, maybe even shy. But the consistent action, that constant performing, is signaling a really deep, consistent need. It suggests a lack of approval, maybe, or an internal feeling of low status.
So they feel they have to earn that approval constantly.
Exactly. They feel compelled to fix that internal deficit through external performance. The action is the proof. And the consistency shows just how deep that need runs.
That really changes how you see that person, doesn't it? Instead of just annoying, you see someone driven by this lack.
Precisely. Once you spot a pattern over time, maybe it's always avoiding conflict or constantly needing validation from bosses or even always being late. That habit is serving a vital function for their internal world. It's a reliable clue to their priorities, their values, and really importantly, their hidden fears.
Okay, but here's where it gets tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because the book insists on something that feels, almost unnatural.
Which is?
Judgment-free observation. It asks us to actively switch off that instant human reaction to assume things, to jump to conclusions based on our own stuff.
Well, that's maybe the hardest part of the whole thing,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
Because our brains are built to take shortcuts.
Yeah, prediction machines.
Exactly. That's the danger of personal bias.
Yeah.
Someone uses a sharp tone and bam, your brain pulls up every memory of someone else who used that tone and hurt you.
And you instantly label this new person hostile.
Right.
Yeah.
Before you even have real data on them.
So how do you practice that neutral observation then? How do you actually do it?
You have to consciously force yourself to collect the facts first. Delay the interpretation.
Okay.
So someone snaps at the waiter. Your immediate internal story might be, wow, what a jerk, disrespectful. Neutral observation just notes. Volume and tone increase sharply when addressing the waiter. Behavior observed. Anger directed at staff. See the difference?
Yeah, it's much more clinical.
It is. It's about seeing what is happening in that moment based only on what you can actually see and hear, not what you wish was happening or what you fear might happen because of your past.
But hang on, is it really possible to just switch off your history? Like if I got burned by a super charming colleague before and I meet someone new who's just dripping charisma, that internal alarm bell rings.
Oh, yeah.
How does King expect you to just ignore that gut feeling?
He doesn't say ignore the feeling. He says isolate the feeling from the data. That gut feeling is useful. It's a warning sign. Proceed with caution here.
Okay.
But it's not evidence about this specific person yet. Your personal history is the main thing that clouds accurate readings.
Right. Contaminates it.
Totally. So the discipline is to separate the current observable data. Is this person over-explaining? Are their eyes darting weirdly? Is their story shaky? Separate that from your fear based on the last person. You have to ask, what did they actually do or say just now? Not, what does my gut, based on past hurt, predict they're about to do? Observe the pattern first, then maybe apply a label carefully.
Okay, so we're observing actions, looking for consistency, trying to stay neutral. Now let's try to interpret. Let's look under the hood, at the engine driving it all.
The why.
Yeah, the why. You said every action fulfills some kind of need.
That's the core idea from the book, yeah. Every single action, consciously or unconsciously, is aimed at fulfilling some fundamental emotional or psychological need. Understand the need, understand the action.
So behavior is driven by what exactly? Needs, fears?
Needs, fears, values, and beliefs. Those are the big four. If you can figure out which core need is driving the bus for someone in a given situation, their behavior suddenly makes a lot more sense. It becomes almost predictable because they're constantly trying to get back to a state of balance to meet that unmet need.
Okay, so what are these core needs according to King?
He lists a core set, things that are pretty universal. Let's see. Approval, safety, power, love, status, control, and belonging.
Right. Those feel pretty fundamental.
They really are. Think of them as like the magnetic north for human decisions. If someone feels their need for, say, control is threatened, they'll likely show behaviors designed to grab that control back, aggressively sometimes, even if those actions seem totally irrational or self-sabotaging to someone else who isn't feeling that same lack of control.
Okay, let's make this concrete. You used the example of constant boasting earlier. Connect that back to maybe 2 or 3 of these needs.
Okay, good idea. So constant boasting. The behavior is the endless stream of achievements, name-dropping, talking about expensive stuff.
Right, makes you roll your eyes.
Totally.
Yeah.
The surface read is just arrogance. But dig deeper, using these needs. What's likely going on underneath? Almost certainly, it points to low status, or at least a feeling of low status, combined with a very high need for approval.
Why?
Well, think about it. If you genuinely felt secure in your status, you wouldn't need to constantly announce it, would you?
No, probably not.
It'd be ambient fact.
Yeah.
So by repeatedly asserting their worth through these stories, they're actually revealing an internal deficit. They're trying to, buy respect, status, and approval. Maybe even a sense of belonging with people they perceive as high status.
Ah, so it's not aggression, it's insecurity in action.
Often, yeah. It can transform from feeling like hostile arrogance to seeing it as almost frantic, predictable insecurity. Once you see the need, the behavior clicks into place.
That makes the person much more understandable. And maybe easier to deal with, especially at work. Okay, so from needs, let's talk about personality patterns. The book gives specific cues, right? Like shortcuts to recognizing types.
Exactly. This is where observation starts turning into practical insight pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You see these clusters of behaviors appearing together consistently. And you start to get a feel for their sort of default operating system, their go-to settings.
All right, let's dive into those specifics. What are the signs of someone who is genuinely confident? Not arrogant, but truly confident.
Okay, genuine confidence.
Yeah.
It's marked by a visible sense of ease, like they aren't trying too hard. Key signs are an open posture. Think relaxed shoulders, not crossing arms, maybe taking up a bit of space naturally.
Okay.
Steady eye contact, not staring aggressively, but comfortable holding your gaze, which signals they aren't intimidated and feel secure in the interaction. And a relaxed tone of voice, not rushed, not overly loud, just comfortable.
And how does that differ from arrogance or overconfidence?
Big difference. The truly confident person is relaxed because their sense of worth comes from within. They don't need to prove anything to you. The arrogant person, often tense. They might be overly loud, interrupt a lot, demand attention because they're desperately trying to maintain the illusion of power or status. They need your validation. The confident person doesn't. That lack of need is the signal.
Got it. Okay, opposite end, the insecure type. What are the tells there?
It's pretty much the mirror image of confidence. Lots of defensive signals, both physically and verbally. You'll often see closed arms, creating that barrier even when it's not cold.
Right.
Lots of nervous habits. Fidgeting, playing with hair, rubbing hands together. Those are self-soothing behaviors. They signal high internal stress or anxiety.
And you mentioned a key verbal tell, over-explaining.
Yes. This one is huge, especially in professional settings. When someone feels insecure, they feel this intense need to justify, validate, sometimes even apologize for every little thing they do.
Why?
Because they lack that internal validation, they're terrified of criticism. So if you ask a simple question like, where'd you grab coffee? And they launch into a 5-minute monologue about traffic, the pros and cons of 3 different cafes. Why they chose that one? That over-explanation. It's verbal padding. It's them trying to cover all the bases, trying to preemptively manage your opinion because they doubt themselves.
Makes sense. Okay, next type. The dominant personality, driven by control and power.
Primarily, yes. Often framed as efficiency, but control is usually underneath. Their pattern shows up as fast decisions. They're comfortable being the authority, making the call.
Right.
A strong tone of voice. It signals conviction, doesn't invite debate, and crucially, little patience. They often dislike ambiguity, long discussions, or any perceived inefficiency.
So hesitation from others might feel
Like a challenge, or just incompetence. They can trigger impatience because it disrupts their sense of control or their preferred pace. The underlying motive is often keeping things under their control, even if they call it being efficient.
Okay. And the last one on this list, the people pleaser. Seems like this one is all about fear.
Very much so. It's like the need for belonging and approval dialed way up, mixed with a deep fear of rejection or abandonment.
And the behaviors.
Actively avoiding conflict is a big one. They'll agree quickly, even if they don't really agree, just to keep the peace. And the absolute classic sign, they apologize often, constantly. Not just when they're wrong, but for taking up space, for having an opinion, for potentially inconveniencing someone in the slightest way.
So the driving forces.
The fear that their value is conditional, that if they stop smoothing things over, if they disagree, they'll be disliked or rejected. Recognizing this helps you interact differently, maybe gently encouraging their real opinion, knowing their default yes is often a coping mechanism, not honesty.
Okay, this feels like a natural shift into nonverbal stuff. Body language. The book basically says the body doesn't lie, right?
Pretty much. It argues the body is always honest because it reacts faster than our conscious filter. It's plugged directly into the limbic system, the emotional brain. So the reaction happens before the slower, rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, can step in and say, whoa, maybe don't show that emotion. That's not socially acceptable. Or, quick, mask that. We need to deceive.
So the body language is like the raw, unfiltered data.
Exactly. It bypasses the spin doctor in our head.
Right.
That's why it's considered so reliable.
All right, let's break down some specific signals mentioned. We touched on arms crossed earlier. What's the typical read on that?
Well, okay, sometimes it just means someone's cold.
Right. Context matters.
Always.
Ah.
But assuming it's not freezing, crossed arms often signal that someone is feeling defensive or uncomfortable. They're literally putting up a barrier. If you're pitching an idea and the other person crosses their arms, even with a neutral face, their body might be saying, nope, closed off to this.
Okay. And the opposite, leaning.
Leaning in is usually a really positive sign. It signals interest, engagement, maybe even agreement. They're physically trying to get closer to the source of information or the person speaking, shows they're receptive.
What about eye contact? You mentioned avoiding eye contact. How do we tell if it's shyness versus, say, guilt or deception?
Yeah, that's tricky. Avoiding eye contact generally points to fear, guilt, or insecurity. The key distinction is offered the pattern versus a specific reaction.
Okay.
Someone who is generally shy or insecure might avoid eye contact pretty consistently across different topics and situations. Someone who is actively trying to deceive you might avoid eye contact specifically when the sensitive topic, the lie itself, comes up. Or, interestingly, some practiced liars overcompensate. They might stare too intensely, almost unnaturally, without blinking normally.
Creepy.
Yeah, it feels off. The main signal is a break from their normal relaxed pattern of eye contact.
Got it. And there's a positive signal, too. Mirroring. Like unconsciously copying someone's posture.
Yes, mirroring. It's fascinating. When someone subtly, unconsciously adopts your posture or gestures, maybe they lean back when you do, pick up their drink when you do, use a similar hand gesture, it's one of the strongest nonverbal signs of connection and trust. It's rapport happening automatically.
Yeah.
Our bodies tend to sync up with people we feel comfortable with, people we trust or want to align with. It's a subconscious I'm with you signal.
Cool. Okay, moving beyond posture. How do emotions leak out? The book mentions micro-expressions. What are those?
Micro-expressions. They're like tiny cracks in the emotional dam. These are super brief facial expressions, often lasting just a fraction of a second.
Wow, that fast.
Yeah, like less than a quarter of a second sometimes. They flash the person's true underlying emotion before their conscious brain can slap on the socially appropriate mask.
So you might see.
Like a flicker of fear, eyes widening, maybe eyebrows pulling up and together just for an instant before it's replaced by a calm or neutral look, or a flash of contempt, one side of the lip curling up slightly. It's the raw emotion bubbling up before the sensor catches it. Spotting them takes practice, a really focused observation.
But reading emotions isn't just the face, right? They're auditory cues, too.
Absolutely. You have to listen as much as you watch. Analyze the tone, speed, and volume of their voice.
How so?
Well, a sudden jump in speed or volume. That often signals emotional arousal. Could be excitement, could be anxiety, could be anger. A sudden drop in volume, or speaking much slower, might indicate withdrawal, sadness, or maybe uncertainty.
And word choice matters too, obviously.
Definitely. Are they using lots of qualifiers? Minimizing language? Well, this is just my opinion, maybe. That tells you something about their confidence or how they position themselves? Or are they using strong, definitive language?
Okay, and then there's this idea of indirect revelation, like emotions leaking out sideways.
Yeah, I love this concept. This is when feelings come out, even when the person is actively trying not to express them directly. It's like the pressure builds up and finds a weak spot.
How does that happen?
Several ways. One is sarcasm. Often, sarcasm is just thinly veiled anger or frustration that the person doesn't feel safe expressing directly. It's passive-aggressive communication.
Makes sense.
Another is the classic slip of the tongue, the Freudian slip. The subconscious just blurts out a truth the conscious mind was trying to keep locked down.
Right.
And maybe the most obvious one is an emotional overreaction. Right. Someone reacts to something minor, like their parking spot being taken with absolute disproportionate fury. That massive reaction isn't really about the parking spot. It's about some deeper, unresolved issue, maybe feeling disrespected or a lack of control in their life, and that small trigger just bursts the dam. The leaked emotion tells you about the underlying pressure.
All right, let's shift into using these skills for self-protection.
Yeah.
Detecting lies, spotting manipulation. There's a core rule in the book for lie detection, isn't there?
Yes, and it's absolutely fundamental. The rule is, when words in body language contradict, trust the body every time.
Why is the body more reliable?
Because, as we said, it operates on that faster, more direct emotional pathway. The conscious mind is busy constructing the lie with words, but the body is often reacting involuntarily to the stress and discomfort of the deception. So someone says, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll get that report done by 5.
Okay.
But while they're saying it, their feet are subtly shuffling towards the door, or they give a tiny little head shake no, or their shoulders tense up. The words say yes, the body screams nope.
Yeah.
You listen to the body.
Okay, so trust the body. What are some other specific signs of deception that the book points out? Things to watch for.
One classic sign is the narrative detail paradox. The liar often provides either too many details or too few details.
How does that work?
Well, if they overcompensate, they might offer tons of unnecessary vivid details. The exact color of the traffic light, what song was playing on the radio, trying desperately to make the fabricated story sound real and convincing.
Right, trying too hard.
Exactly. Or if they underprepare, they give really vague, bare-bones answers because they haven't thought through the fake scenario.
Right.
They can't provide specifics because they don't exist. Either extreme can be a red flag.
What else?
An inconsistent story. If you ask them to recount the story later, or ask questions from a different angle, a liar often struggles to keep the fabricated details straight. The story changes.
Makes sense. Hard to remember lies. What about timing?
A slight delay before answering a direct, critical question can be telling. A truthful answer usually comes right from memory pretty instantly. A lie often requires a moment of processing. Hear the question, realize the need to lie, construct the false answer, then deliver it. That tiny pause can be the sound of the lie being manufactured.
Interesting. And facial cues, like
Yeah, the
smiles.
forced smile is a big one. A genuine smile, sometimes called a Duchenne smile, involves the whole face. You see it in the eyes, the muscles around the eyes crinkle.
Right. Crow's feet.
Exactly. A fake or forced smile often only uses the mouth muscles. The eyes look dead or disconnected from the smile. It lacks that genuine warmth.
And that core contradiction we started with, words saying one thing, body saying another.
That's the ultimate giveaway. Words say yes, but the head gives a tiny shake no. Words say I'm comfortable, but they're physically pulling back or fidgeting intensely. Words say that's the whole story, but they cover their mouth as they say it. Trust the nonverbal leak.
Okay, so understanding these deception cues helps us spot manipulators.
Absolutely. Because manipulators often rely on deception and emotional pressure to get what they want. If you can spot the inconsistencies and read the underlying signals, you're much less likely to fall into their traps.
So reading people helps protect your boundaries.
Definitely. It helps you recognize the game being played before you get emotionally hooked. You shift from being a potential victim to being an objective observer of their tactics.
So what are some of those common tactics? What's in the manipulator's playbook, according to King?
He details 5 common ones to watch out for. First, the classic guilt trip. Using your sense of obligation or compassion against you, constantly reminding you of past favors or sacrifices to make you feel indebted and compliant.
Okay, what's next?
Second, and this one's really damaging, gaslighting.
Explain that one.
Gaslighting is when someone deliberately tries to make you doubt your own reality, your memory, your perception, even your sanity. They'll deny saying things you clearly remember them saying, twist events, insist you're the one who's confused or overreacting, until you start to question yourself. It's a deeply insidious form of control aimed at destroying your internal compass so you become dependent on their version of reality.
That sounds awful. What else? Accountability.
Manipulators hate accountability. So the third tactic is they constantly avoid responsibility. Nothing is ever their fault. They're masters at shifting blame to circumstances, to bad luck, to you.
Right, the perpetual victim sometimes.
Which leads to the fifth tactic. But fourth is twisting your words. Taking something you said out of context, misrepresenting it, often publicly, to make you look bad, foolish, or malicious. Expert reframers.
Okay, and number 5?
Consistently playing the victim. They leverage sympathy, pity, and your desire to help to gain advantages, avoid consequences, and make others feel obligated to rescue or accommodate them. Recognizing these patterns, the guilt trips, the gaslighting, the blame shifting, the word twisting, the victim act, allows you to stay objective and not get sucked into their emotional vortex.
Okay, so we've covered observing actions, understanding motives, reading body language, even spotting lies and manipulation tactics. But anyone can put on an act for a short time, right? Especially if they know they're being watched or want something.
Exactly. A good manipulator can fake confidence or sincerity for an hour, maybe even a day.
So how do we get beyond reading moments to reading actual deep-down character?
This is where you have to zoom out. You need the long view.
Yeah.
True character, according to the book, isn't revealed in the easy times or the performative moments. It's revealed through long-term patterns, and especially under 2 conditions.
Which are?
When the person is under significant pressure or stress, or conversely, when there is absolutely no personal benefit for them to act decently, that's when the mask slips. That's when the real operating system shows itself.
So stress and altruism, basically, or lack thereof.
Sort of. Think of it as, how do they behave when the potential rewards or punishments are either extreme or completely absent? That's when their core values really shine through, or their lack of them.
Okay, this feels crucial. So it's less about a single observation and more about assessing their default settings over time, especially in specific situations. What are those key situations or tests?
The book highlights 4 really critical tests of character. These are powerful because they tend to strip away the transactional motivation, the what's in it for me angle.
All right, let's hear them. What's the first one? Probably the most famous one.
You guessed it. Test number 1. How do they treat people they perceive as having less power?
Ah, the waiter test.
Exactly. Waiters, receptionists, cleaners, junior staff, anyone who can't really do anything for them professionally or socially. Are they respectful, patient, kind? Or are they dismissive, impatient, demanding, cruel?
Why is this so telling?
Because how you treat someone who has no power over you, who offers no benefit to you, that reveals your baseline level of respect for other human beings. Kindness to the powerful could just be strategy. Kindness to the powerless reveals genuine character.
That resonates. Okay, test number 2, related to difficult situations.
Yes. Test 2. How do they handle conflict? Not just disagreements, but real conflict. Maybe a project goes wrong. Maybe there's a direct confrontation.
What are we looking for?
Do they seek to understand the other side? Do they aim for resolution? Maybe compromise? Or is their first instinct to attack, to blame, to humiliate, to win at all costs? Do they keep their cool, or do they escalate things emotionally? Conflict is pure stress, and it forces their hand, reveals whether they're fundamentally collaborative or purely self-interested and combative.
Got it. Test 3 connects back to that dominant type, doesn't it? How they handle being denied.
Precisely. Test 3, how do they react when told no? This is a huge tell about maturity, entitlement, and emotional regulation.
So, what's the difference between a good and bad reaction?
A mature reaction might involve disappointment, sure, but then maybe respectful questioning, negotiations, or eventual acceptance. An immature or entitled reaction, that could be instant anger, sulking, passive aggression, maybe even trying to punish the person who said no. It reveals how they handle the reality that the world doesn't always cater to their immediate desires. A tantrum reaction signals deep entitlement.
Okay, and the final test. The one about acting without reward.
This might be the purest test of underlying motive. Test 4. How do they behave when there is absolutely no personal benefit involved?
What does that look like in practice?
Does this person ever volunteer their time, offer help, share resources, or go out of their way for a cause or another person when there's clearly nothing in it for them? No money, no promotion, no public recognition, no expectation of a favor in return. If you see consistent evidence of this kind of selfless action, it points towards genuine altruism or deeply held values. But if all their good deeds seem to have a clear, tangible benefit attached, networking, reputation building, future favors,
Then it's probably just transactional.
exactly, then their character might be driven more by opportunism than by genuine integrity or kindness. Observing them when the reward is removed is arguably the clearest window you get into their core motivations. #HagOutro, synthesis and final thought.
Wow, okay. That's a lot to take in, but incredibly useful. We've gone from basic observation to understanding motives, reading silent signals, spotting deception, and finally assessing true character. Let's quickly sum up what you, the listener, really gain from internalizing these skills.
Well, the payoff is potentially huge, isn't it? You get a much clearer, faster read on people's real intentions.
Right, less guesswork.
Which lets you make smarter, safer choices about who you trust, both personally and professionally. It helps you build relationships based on reality, not just hope or projection.
And protection.
Big time. You gain significant protection from being constantly manipulated or lied to. And ultimately, maybe counterintuitively, understanding people on this deeper level can actually lead to more genuine connection because you're responding to the real person, their actual needs and patterns, not just the facade they present. You can stop reacting to the surface noise and connect with the underlying truth of who they are.
So the core message from Patrick King's work seems pretty clear then.
Yeah, I think it boils down to this. People are readable, not through magic, but through careful, conscious, and neutral observation of their consistent behavior.
Focusing on the patterns, the emotions, the motives.
Instead of just blindly believing the words they say, if you watch what people do consistently over time, especially under pressure or when they think no one's looking, you'll understand their character far better than maybe even they do.
And that final thought ties back to something you said earlier. The things people don't say often drive their loudest actions.
Exactly. The book teaches you that those silent currents, the fear of rejection, the need for control, the craving for status, those are often the engines driving the most visible behaviors.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you start applying these observation skills outward, maybe also turn that lens inward for a moment. Ask yourself, what are my most consistent patterns? What silent needs or fears might be driving my loudest actions? What is my behavior revealing about my own character when I think no one's watching?
That's a powerful exercise. And on that note, we really encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to the Book Mind channel. Your support helps us keep doing these deep dive conversations on fascinating books.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we have a question for you. We've discussed quite a few behavioral indicators today, things like mirroring, nervous habits, over-explaining, how someone treats waitstaff, how they react to no. We want to know, which one of these indicators do you personally believe is the single most reliable, most revealing test of a person's true character?
Great question.
Let us know your thoughts. Comment down your answer below.